So, should I steal Eddie's MT07? I mean, why not? I got to ride Eddie's MT07 down the nice twisty hill country roads, and that was by far the most miles I put on it. You know, we swapped bikes and really took a real ride. And I thought I'd share my thoughts on it because some of it is not what I think the general impression of the bike is. So let's get into it. The MT07 has a reputation as a hooligan bike, and I think that's well deserved, but not entirely fair to it. It's also really capable of being smooth and practical. If you are not a hooligan yourself, if you are a responsible adult, the engine and transmission and the overall bike really does make it easy to ride normally. It's a very smooth, practical choice if you want a naked bike. It's there, the power is there, but it's not being shoved down your throat. It's not totally in your face, hard to manage. It's really a smooth delivery. The handling is more than enough for a newer casual rider. If you are not looking for a race bike or a super, high-end canyon carving machine, I think that most of the complaints people had about it are nitpicking and comparing it to bikes that it should not be compared with. You have to compare it in the price point and what the intended role of the bike is. This is not a canyon carver. This is way more of an urban bike. Yeah, highway's fine, but if you're intending to do real highway cruising, this was not the appropriate bike. Most nakeds aren't. I think that the MT07 really, it fits its market position really well. It is a reasonably priced, I don't want to say budget because it's not, but it's a reasonably priced mid-size sport naked with really comfy upright ergonomics. So we're going to talk about those ergonomics because they're not what I was expecting. A little different from what I think a lot of people expect. I think the ergonomics get overlooked because people say, oh, it's upright and comfy, but they don't compare it to some other bikes. And I think that that's doing it a disservice because one of the things I felt about the MT07 that I was not expecting is that it's really upright. Your legs are not as tucked under you. Your torso is more upright than on most bikes. It is a more casual, relaxed riding position. Eddie has ridden my bike several times, and obviously we swapped for this particular ride. His number one comment about my bike is that you're leaning forward more. You're tucked in more. They also have a different seat. The Yamaha has a sit-on seat versus a sit-in seat. It's kind of funny compared to what I just said because the sit-on setup is much more of a super sport kind of seat. If you're, hardcore canyon carving, that's what you want because it makes it easier to change body positions for more aggressive riding. I think for the Yamaha, it was more of a style choice and a concession to we are building a mid-size sport naked. If you really want to do these that kind of riding, this is the more appropriate seat. Obviously, the guys who are hardcore stunting guys are going to put their preference of seat on no matter what, so it really didn't matter. Interestingly, neither Eddie nor I were really considering this particular aspect of the bike. Now that we've compared the two more carefully, we're both happy with what we have. Neither of us is like, oh, I wish I had the other one in terms of ergonomics. So what do I really think about it? What do I think about that MT07 and would I want one? And I think the answer is no. That's not a criticism of the bike. It's just where do I stand? What do I want in a bike? It is a blast to play with. As a bike to swap with and have fun with, it's a ton of fun. The power delivery is so smooth and easy. If you're not stupid about it, if you're not jerky with the bike, it really is a comfy, fun bike to ride, and it responds well when you push it. It felt very planted and comfy, more so than my CB300R. The CB300R is lighter. I don't think the tires are as good. The OEM tires, changes in the road surface, the wind, it's just a little less solid feeling on the road than the MT07 was, but that's okay. It doesn't feel bad. I just think that the MT07 did that better, but I did like the handling on the CB better. The MT feels a little less refined in that sense. Certainly nothing wrong with it. And that could just come down to styling and preference. I think the MT would be great in town, more so than the twisties. You have to compare this bike to other bikes in its price point. It is not fair to compare this to a Street Fighter, a Street Triple, a Speed Triple. You're talking about a bike that's massively less expensive and is designed much more. The ergonomics, the suspension, the throttle feel, all match up for this to be an entry mid-size bike for an adult rider who is probably riding way more urban than canyon. You're not a hardcore rider. And I think it does it really well. People who should have had an MT07, who get Street Fighters, Street Triples, Speed Triples, they comment that their bike is not comfortable, that it was too aggressive, and they sold it. That it's a common thing you see. They traded it off for something else because it wasn't fun for day-to-day riding. It was only fun when they were riding it hard, when they were out there being aggressive with the bike. And I think that's where the MT07 shines, is that you get most of that aggressive riding potential, but it's way more comfy than those other bikes when you're not using that potential. When you're just riding to the store, you're just going to work, it really does that well. So my thoughts as I was riding it were that this is really comfy, there's plenty of performance on tap, and there wasn't a moment where I was unsure of the bike, that I was worried about something related to the bike. Just compared to my CB, I didn't have to shift much. The power band was nice and wide. I could easily carve through the corners, engine brake a little bit before the corner, cut through the corner and accelerate hard coming out of it without having to shift. And obviously part of that was the speed I was going matched that situation. On my CB, very often I would downshift before the corner, rev match, go through the corner, and then accelerate out and then have to shift again if there was a straightaway. Because otherwise I was going to be in the top part of my rev band, and if I'm going to be there for half a mile or a mile, not fun. The MT07 had enough power that I didn't have to get into that top part of my rev band for the straightaway unless I really wanted to push the bike for faster. And I could still get through the corner and have power coming out of the corner. I didn't have to shift to get all three of those. Now, on a twistier road, sure, you'd be shifting, but I'd be shifting more on the CB. I think they got the gearing and engine pairing correct for what I think the bike is properly suited for. I think it's a great city bike, honestly. I think that for what most people use a mid-size naked bike for, this is a great machine. That upright position is great. At the lower speeds you're going to be going, you're not going to be going 90, right? Where the wind is a pain in the ass if you're on an upright naked. 0 to 65, wonderful, awesome, smooth power delivery, solid road feel, plenty agility. If you're not expecting super bike feel and handling, you're going to be really happy. If you're comparing it to bikes that cost 50 or 100% more and are really just naked sport bikes, naked super sport style bikes, you might be less happy. If that's what you wanted, those bikes are out there. Get one of those. I think that trying to compare this bike to those bikes is doing both a disservice. They do different things well, and trying to make a bike that does all of it well, honestly, I think you compromise something because the ergonomics have to be different. I think you have to make a decision, right? If you wanted a sport bike without the fairings, that is a different bike than wanting an upright sport naked that is comfy for day-to-day commute, where you might spend a fair bit of time at very low speed or stop and not be 20 years old with a good back. So the last thing I've got for you today is that I can really see how Yamaha has been killing it with this engine. I can see why they're putting it in a bunch of bikes. That stock exhaust is quiet but has a great purr out of that engine, and the power delivery really is everything I would want out of a day-to-day machine. If you are not responsible, if you get stupid with this bike, certainly that engine can bite you, but it's not out there looking for an excuse to rip your face off either. The whole package just does really well at being that, what do you want to do today? I'm ready for it. If you want a casual, comfy ride to work, hey, I'm there for it. If you want to go get crazy in some warehouse parking lot and do stunts, let's make it happen. I'm all about it. I think that's the real joy of this bike. Again, would I want one? No. But do I enjoy having the opportunity to ride Eddies now and then? Absolutely. And I think that anybody like me, or even, in your 30s, late 20s, you're a little more responsible, you're a little less speed hungry, and a little more aware of your mortality. Yeah, 100% start on an MT07. If you're not focused on the smaller, lighter bike as much as I was, an MT07 would be awesome. I don't think you can go wrong. So, take care, have fun, stay safe, everybody, and enjoy the ride.